As an author of Father to Son, why is it so before we even get to the importance of a relationship, describe to me some of the challenges that are unique, specifically unique for an African father, given our culture and our customs and so forth.
I think one, to be a man, it's very hard.
Yeah.
Simply because there are many challenges in our society, and one of them is a definition of masculinity with the changing times. And so having also men who can come together and support each other, it becomes a challenge. And so man's support system is a bit weak currently. And you find that when men are younger, they have a band of brothers, but when they get older, they die alone.
Oh my goodness. Burale, would you love to add on top of that?
Oh, no, he said it so well. The pressure out there is crazy. And the thing about us men, we like acting strong, but we're dying inside. So for a man, it's easy to be a public success and a private failure. So I hope that people will just understand the pressures the man goes through.
How do we begin to fix that?
Well, first and foremost, mentorship. It is hard for grown, broken men to raise young men to great men. Right now, we believe the masculinity is in the ICU. So we really need to have a serious introspection and do something as soon as yesterday and try and quickly rebuild the broken man so that the boy child can be safe coming forward.
Speaking of the boy child, a lot of the conversation that has come around, especially now with the empowerment of the girl child, is that we've forgotten the boy child. John, do you agree?
I would say my response to that is empowering the girl child is amazing, and that should continue. What should happen is that men should rise up, but not forgetting that our history informs the current situation. Though we should not blame our history, we should step up and address the issue. Because we do mentorship in high schools, and one of the things I realize is that boys respond in 3 ways, especially when they have issues with their fathers. They flee, seeking someone else to actually define them, or they fight, trying to position their place, or they forgive their fathers. But for a boy to forgive his father, fathers need to take initiative. Wow. Yeah.
For boys to forgive their fathers, fathers need to take that initiative.
Yes, they do.
Burale, talk to me about that aspect of that, you know, have we forgotten the boy child? Have we just...
I don't think we have, and I agree with my friend here, that we should not frown upon the empowerment of the girl child. But we also need to up our game to raise boys to become men who can handle the empowered woman.
I like that.
Because otherwise we'll just complain. And I'll say one thing about a woman, even before creation, a woman is not created to be around a void. And that is why even Adam, when he went to walk around and he disappeared, the woman got the attention of the enemy. You understand? So what I'm trying to say is we as men need to take back our seat of authority, because I believe we have abdicated. And as a woman, if I drop a paper here, most men can pass it by. But when a woman comes, she'll pick it and put it in the right place, because women like order. So when we abdicate our seat of authority, a woman will naturally come and take that seat. And then we turn back and say, oh my goodness, the women have become too powerful. Well, you need to ask ourselves one question. Where were we? Even God asked Adam, where are you?
Listen to this from the book Father to Son by John Wills. I'll read a small extraction. It says, there are 3 needs that everyone has despite age and gender. It is the need for every heart to experience affection, affirmation, as well as acceptance. These are the basic psychological needs that parents are primarily responsible to meet. Every young man fights to satisfy his hunger for affection, affirmation, and acceptance, guided by the doses he received as a boy. John, why is it so important for a father and a son to have a healthy relationship?
I would say that I was a broken man, seriously broken. I would start there. And when I went to high school, I met my former high school principal, who mentored me. And partly I was involved in a strike. And he just told me, you know, I'm not going to expel you because you're my son. But I want to be having meetings with you weekly. And so we had meetings, weekly meetings for 2 years. And after that, when I came out of school, I met an old man, a total stranger who has worked with me for 15 years now. And so when I failed, they were there for me. They accepted me as I am. And I remember one time I had failed, and this old man just told me, you know, if you want to remain there, I will still be here for you. But if you choose to rise up and walk, I will hold your hand. Yeah, so it's a need that we have. And when men and women have that deficiency, what happens is that it affects organizations, because individuals are the ones who play in organizations. And that's how people end up oppressing each other, and unhealthy competition instead of complementing each other.
Burale, the importance of a father-to-son relationship.
Oh, it's amazing because, sorry, excuse me.
It's okay.
When it comes to a son, the father is the son's hero. And to a girl, that's a first love. So when you say a hero, what does it mean to be a hero? Not paying school fees, because we're raising men who think if I pay school fees, if I buy clothes and an iPad and an iPhone, then I'm the best model of a father. And I frown upon men who use that as a point of affirming themselves. That is your God-given responsibility. But for me, it should be a man who will go for the first football match with his son, who will help him and show him how to tie a tie, who will show him how to weave and how to use it very well. You know, those are the moments that my daughter cannot stand in a church and give a testimony. Praise the Lord, my dad paid my school fees. That is my responsibility. But when you go for her first violin performance, that you've gone the extra mile. So go hiking with your son. Those are moments. He will see the strength of the father, the sweat, and something is inculcated in that boy. And let me tell you, those things that may seem extracurricular activities are the ones that will be the foundation of your son when he grows up in life. How to handle relationships, how to handle falls, you know, how to handle ups and downs. But just paying school fees and not being there, we are letting social media, iPads, and house managers raise the children. And then when they're messed up, guess what? In our old age, we'll be the ones who will be crying.
And let's talk about now, let's twist it to now daughters, the importance of a father-to-daughter relationship. And the thing is, within an African society, you tend to find that the girls are raised by the women, and then the men go to with the boys, custom-wise. It's our culture. But now we're changing in times where we're living in times where, you know, things are changing, customs are changing, traditions, values are changing. Why is it so important for a man who is watching this morning to spend and to be more deliberate with spending time with their daughters?
Well, I have a daughter. I only have one daughter. And she's 13 now. I'm seeing the manifestation of me spending time with her when she was 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Because what you got to understand is that the society is so warped that there are crazy people out there who can mess our girls. So what happens is the father should be the one to affirm the daughter. And you have to tell her every day she's beautiful. You believe in her. You are the best. I love you. Because if you don't do that to a daughter, and remember, to a daughter, the father is the first love. If you deny her that, it means that when any crazy man approaches her and he has ulterior motives, he will have a highway, and they will damage these girls.
Here's the thing, John. If your father, if you're, and I say specifically African because of our customs, if your African father tells you today, I love you, I care about you, you're beautiful, they tend to feel a bit weird because it's not something that they were also brought up hearing themselves. It's something new to them. How do we begin to break those walls? How do we begin to start having that conversation? By me telling my daughter, I love you, you're beautiful, is not a sign of weakness as an African man.
I think one of the things we need to accept is that culture is dynamic. But deep within, every man knows that telling a daughter or even a woman, I love you, it is inside. And so it's only that accepting, just getting to a place where you accept, yes, there is culture, but I need to overcome this. Because there is no way you can define a relationship based on a system. You actually need to connect with this person because the system is supposed to serve the person, not the other way around. And so if fathers step up and tell their daughters, I love you, it goes a long way for the daughter.
Right.
Then number two, the father is the only one who knows how men behave towards women. And so he will be able to break it down for the daughter, that when he comes and he says 1, 2, 3, 4, this is what he means. And so the daughter will be able also to appreciate and know how to function in the society, because the role of a father is to help a child function well in the society. But the interesting thing is that we run away from the author of fatherhood, who is God.
Wow.
And so how do we call ourselves fathers, having a disconnect with the one who started the whole concept? And it's the only title that God shares with man.
Yeah. I love what Burale said, that nowadays we have phones, social media, iPads raising our kids. What compromises, what goes into a healthy relationship with a father-son, father-daughter?
I think one of the things that you find in our society, there is compromise. And compromise, in a way, we try to fill in where we have failed. And we try filling in these gaps using gadgets. I'm not saying that gadgets are bad, but why do so? And I think one of the challenges that men face is that they were not taught. Very few men were taught how to apologize, and especially to their children, and to say, this one I'm cooked, and I need help.
Speaking of apologies, Burale, because you have a daughter,
Yeah.
daddy issues are real.
Right.
In this day and age, even before that, I'm sure even our fathers had faced the same thing. How do we begin to heal that? How do we begin between a father and a son and a father and a daughter? How do we begin to handle these father-daddy issues? Because then again, it goes on to influence how you relate with other people, more so your spouse and men and women outside there.
I think the first thing, and you alluded to that, is men first need to take the initiative, the fathers. We need to forgive ourselves.
We need to forgive ourselves.
We need to forgive ourselves because that is the first part of healing and reconciliation.
Right.
You must forgive yourself. Look at the failures. There's a time I wasn't in my daughter's life for about 8 months. And I felt very bad. I felt like a failure. But when I forgave myself and I went back to my daughter and I said, for the time I wasn't there, allow me to make up. And her reaction was not what I expected. She just gelled in as if I had never left. I think that I'm sorry, but I'm back helped. And that has also helped her to reconcile things in her life. If my father did it, going forward, I can still do it. So men need to come together, a cabal of men, and forgive ourselves and say, you know what, since you're still alive, let's make it happen. And let's go back to our sons. Let's go back to our daughters. Because what happens, if you don't do that to your sons, they'll grow up despising people. If you don't do that to your daughters, they will grow up to look for men to give them that which their fathers did.
True.
And woe unto them that they receive that attention from the wrong kind of man. And let me tell you, there are many wrong men there, out there. Yeah.
John, what's the effect of a fatherless nation?
Whoa, it's huge. Actually, some of the issues we are talking about, corruption and all that, you can find it rooted in a fatherless generation. Because what fathers do, presence, as he said, is very important. And fathers also define discipline, how people should behave towards a certain goal. And when you have a fatherless generation, what happens is that actualization of vision becomes a challenge, and articulation of values becomes a big challenge. And so you find that we have many men in jail because as it has been recorded in Kenya and also in other parts of the globe, over 78% of inmates, they grew up without a father's presence. And so the question is it crime that is populating our jails, or is it fatherlessness?
Wow.
And so a fatherless generation becomes a generation that struggles with identity crisis, because every single day they will be seeking to be defined by someone. But also to say that there are men out there who are actually rectifying all these things, because locally in one of the police stations, one day we just decided to walk in and have a conversation with the OCPD, and he started actually mentoring young boys who are coming in with petty some of the petty offenders.
Right.
And so what we need to do is sensitize and also give people tools to use, because men really want to spend time with their daughters and their sons, but they don't know how. And that's why he said, which is a very, very important point, create events. Create memorable events for the children. And you don't have to go to a five-star hotel. Just go climb a mountain somewhere. And that touch is very important.
Gentlemen, there's something I'd love us to touch on. It's quite sensitive, but I believe it's important even as we're marking Father's Day. And I'm glad you've already looped it in your answer, identity crisis. We don't talk as a society about mental health for our men and for our fathers. And we read stories, even here in news, we read stories where a father kills his family and then kills himself. How do we begin, Burale, to let our fathers know that it's okay to forgive yourself, it's okay to come out and speak and say that you need help in X, Y, Z. Right. Yeah, because then again, it then influences their mental health and their mental capability, which then has a rippling effect when it comes to their work, their career, their family, their spiritual life, and so forth.
There's something you said at the top of when you started. Being a man is not easy. The pressure is crazy. And I'm going to say something that may be a bit controversial. And the healing of a man will require the women around the man. To the women who have husbands, the one thing, and I've done counseling, and the men say one thing. Women should also stop. I'm not blaming the women, but I'm saying something that is there. And I don't like sweeping things under the carpet. The pressure sometimes from the women telling the men, why can't you be like John? Why can't you be like Philip? He's earning a 6-figure salary. You're still trying, you're perambulating in mediocrity. That pressure makes a man feel inadequate.
And we are the ones who have a role to play in that.
Yes.
Honestly speaking, women, we also put a lot of pressure.
Absolutely. And when your woman tells you those things, let me tell you, they are being stored somewhere. Slowly but surely. And it will manifest later with a man being violent or taking his own life.
Right.
You understand? So the people around the men, one thing you have to understand, being a man, when you wake up, the moment a man leaves his house, he's going for battles. Battle from backstabbers, men who pretend to be his friends. The pressure to be like his former schoolmates who are driving big cars and in big positions and is still trying to look for a job, or is a casual laborer. That is pressure as it is. And men don't talk. You will go to a salon. As long as you're putting Brazilian weave and the next person is putting Brazilian weave, you already start talking. I will sit with him for 3 years and we'll just talk about football and politics. Wow. For you to heal a man, you have to see the tears that are inside. You have to hear the cry that is inside. You have to pick it. You understand? So, and besides that, we need, of course, as I said, to forgive ourselves, but the people around us, please help us. Men are leading while bleeding. And what happens when the encourager needs encouragement? You understand what I'm saying? And we should have also, we should be intentional in having forums just for men. You know, men, not just bring them in a church or a hall. Men will not open up in the four walls. Take the men somewhere and have nyama choma, hiking, and tell the men, break down now.
Men are leading while bleeding.
Absolutely.
John.
One of the things that men fear most is failure, and he mentioned that. And in a man's heart, there are 3 W's, and that is worship, wife, and work. In this process, when a man fails, what happens is that he knows that he has failed. You don't need to remind him that he has failed, because what happens is that you break him even more. And some people ask, what makes men confined to people who are actually not part of their family? It's simply because they are looking for a secure place. But number 2, he mentioned about counseling, which is very, very important, because stress levels for men, they're quite high. And I remember one time I was asked to go for counseling, especially with the kind of work that we do, because we hear stories and all that, and you need to let it out, because sometimes you might end up carrying baggage. And I was not comfortable with it, but that's what I needed. And I think men need to embrace counseling. And some of these forums would be a great avenue for men, where they come and share their failures. Because if I'm seated here with my brother and he tells me that he tried this 2 years ago and he failed, I will be encouraged by knowing that I'm not the only one. Then he has pointers that can help me get out of the woods. Right. And so I think that relationship is very important. But one of the other things I would want to add is that it is very, very important for women not to force men to be like them.
Wow. John, as we're closing off the conversation, what is your message to your fellow men?
Rise up and shine forth. I think there is great potential, and the future of this continent rests in the hands of men and women. And I think it's very, very important for men and women to complement each other. Right.
Burale, your message to your fellow men on this Father's Day?
Mine is informed by a very good... I have a friend called Izinduga. She has a son who I think was the best in KCP in Embu. She's a single mother. And I say to myself, if there was a father beside this boy, lifting him up when he passes his exams, that boy will feel affirmed. So to the men out there, just up your game. It's not about how much you earn. It's about your presence, because the father controls the hand of blessing. There's nothing as good as a man putting the hand on top of his son's or daughter's head and say, I bless you. And let's reduce the burden on the women. And remember, as the foundation of the world, a man who does not know his garden is not fit to be a leader. So get out of that pity party. If there's a man, just lock yourself in the room right now. Release all that anger, because you cannot take in apple juice and burp out orange juice. If you take in bitterness, everybody around you will taste bitterness. So get yourself together. And let me tell you, if men take their position, let the order of God come back and the society comes back in place.
Wow. Gentlemen, thank you so much for driving this conversation, and a happy Father's Day to both of you.
Thank you very much.
Robert Burale, he is the coach, as well as John Wills Njoroge, the author of Father to Son, an amazing book that you want to grab for yourself, even as a present to your father and to your sons as well. Thank you so much for your time here on Weekend Express. I will be with you again at 1 p.m. for a quick update of stories making headlines at that hour. But from the team and myself, Zinzi Kibiku, it's bye for now. And a happy Father's Day to all our viewers. That was so powerful.